myself, and then Tara. She's going to be the moderator, and it's tech-driven transformation aligning AI strategy and business outcomes. I'm going to grab my glasses because I can't see.
You can sit right in the middle. Wow, I gotta say, I felt some Canadian pride brewing there. Having that kind of brand come up and featuring hockey and talking about hockey, and I gotta say, when he was talking about Kachuk, I was kind of like, yay Canada. So that was fabulous. I loved that session. Okay, ladies, we have a big task.
Absolutely.
We
I'm
do.
excited.
The team, or the audience here, is expecting us to answer a lot of big questions, to give them all the tips on how to go back to their organizations and convince their CEOs, their executive teams, that now is the time to invest in AI. So I'm excited for this conversation. Why don't we start with a bit of an introduction? So Sophia, would you like to kind of give everybody a bit of a sense of perspective on how you're going to be answering the questions?
Yeah, so my name is Sophia, and I am the head of customer success at GiftBit. There I lead the customer experience strategy within the go-to-market department, and I have helped launch the first customer-facing AI-powered tool on the support side, and now I am actively shaping the AI strategy within the CRM in hopes of deepen personalization and improve efficiency across the customer journey.
And Sarah, a little bit of your background.
I introduced myself. I've worked with so many different brands: Loblaw, Metrolink, Scotiabank, Interact, and Purelator was my last gig. Since then, I've kind of done my own thing. I've set up my own consulting. I work with C-suite and executives. I talk to them about AI and data transformation, sort of figuring out, like, moving from the hype to what's actually impactful and what's needed. So this conversation is going to be truly exciting for me.
So I think we'll start with the storytelling piece.
Yeah.
Because many of us are living and experiencing AI in our personal lives. Some leaders are talking about it in professional elements and within their teams. But I think the biggest thing we need to talk about is, how do you make an AI transformation story compelling for your executive team? Really kind of, I would say, getting them on board or into the boat, as Brendan presented in the last conversation, but get them into the boat for investment, but as well as patience, because we're at the forefront of AI, which means that not everything's defined. This isn't A, B, and C, and then you're going to get the outcome. So what is, and how do you think about storytelling for your leadership team?
Yeah, I can jump right in.
Yeah.
So for me, I talk to so many execs, especially now, across various different industries around innovation, around AI. And I think the most compelling stories, they connect innovation to impact, right? So what I did at Loblaw was I stood up the innovation practice. And for me, any kind of AI or even emerging tech POC, we introduced this what did we learn phase at the end of it. And that kind of helped us understand and absorb what did we achieve. And we were very transparent in our journey around the learning so that it was impactful. Because at the end of the day, we didn't sell perfection, we sold progress. And leaders don't buy AI hype. They buy trust, they buy clarity, and they buy evidence of learning. That's, I think, very, very powerful.
That's a great answer. For me, I think that what it really helps leadership to understand the power of AI transformation is making sure that you're not only framing it as a new technology, but as a business evolution.
Right.
You have to make sure that leadership understand this is no longer optional, but also is going to be the backbone of how organizations adapt to ever-changing customer expectations.
Yeah.
So I like to connect the stories to three things mainly: to outcomes, to growth, and to competitive advantage.
Right.
So when it comes to outcomes, make sure that leadership knows who's going to be impacted in your team and how. Because the moment they understand that AI stops being abstract, then when it comes to growth, we know now that AI is about speed, right? It makes us all be faster, more productive, but it's also about growth. So make sure that your leadership is going to see that. And when it comes to competitive advantage, products can be copied, they are now in this day and age with vibe coding and all that, very easy to replicate, but copying businesses that are learning really fast, that's harder to do. And in the context of customer experience, especially when leadership can see that AI is going to help you deepen personalization, build more meaningful connections, they're going to see the value and stay more patient throughout the transformation itself.
Yeah.
And I love that point you bring in about learning.
Yeah.
Right? Because many times we implement technology and it's like, did it do exactly what it was going to do, or did it miss? And that is oftentimes the measurement of success or failure.
Right.
But if you are implementing it and sharing with the teams and the organizations, learning that you're going through, that probably is getting you a little bit of grace with your leadership.
Absolutely. And it's sort of going back to Brendan's point around tying empathy, right, around this digital age. Like having the ability to share, I think it's super powerful in this day and age with so many different tools, different types of technologies, so powerful.
I love that. I love that. So one thing, a question I'd like to ask, you were talking about speed. So what is one area where automation, it didn't just save time, but it actually fundamentally changed how your teams and your customers experienced your brands? And Sophia, why don't we start with you?
Yeah, for sure. So for us, it helped us to not only respond tickets faster or get back to customer inquiries at a much higher speed, it also expanded what is possible for us in terms of what we can offer. So there have been services that we've been wanting to offer to our customers for a really long time because we either knew that they were high impact or because they've been asking for those services for a while, but we couldn't because they were either too manual, labor intensive, and you know that anything that requires a human and manual work, they're very prone for errors. So with AI, we've been able to automate some workflows that has helped us expand some of our professional services. So in that regard, it has had a direct impact in how our brand is perceived, right? So we know now we're not just doing things faster, we're doing more things that we could do before. Our customers are benefiting from it firsthand, and I think that that has been a huge shift in how we are perceived, because we're no longer a vendor. We're a trusted partner. They are way more prone to share feedback with us, because if they have a need, they're going to speak up, they're going to tell us, and they know that if we can do it, we're going to do it for sure.
Yeah. So for me, that was great. For me, I have a bit of a story. So for automation, when I was at Purelator, I introduced this concept. You know, it was pretty easy for me to sell it to the executives because I always linked it to some kind of outcome. And I did look at our competitors with the fact that how do we stay abreast and afloat in comparison to our competitors, so we're on edge and we're like in competition. When I brought it up to people internally, automation scared the crap out of people, right? Like their jobs, and it's like, oh my God, these robots are gonna take over our lives and all this stuff. So for me, it was very much about doing road shows, being the evangelist, talking about automation, and I've gotten stakeholder buy-in, but going around the business and really sort of talking about it so they understand it. Like, what's in it for them? That's really the story that we need to tell around technology. So for me, while I was going around gallivanting and talking about AI and automation and all this amazing stuff, I was also listening. And what I heard was a problem. For me, fruitfully, at that time, ERP went live. When ERP went live, there was stuff that sort of slipped through the cracks, which is totally normal. With these 5-6 year projects, totally normal. However, in this one particular instance, I had a group in finance that was completing manual processes. It was part of their day-to-day job. What took about a week was now taking 4 to 6 weeks because of the issues that ERP was undergoing. I took that as an opportunity to get in, because they had these processes, these backlogs, they were getting frustrated. We even had to hire contractors to like help with the backlog. And so I went in and I was talking about automation, jumped in, used RPA, automated those processes, and they now had this appreciation where it's like, oh my God, like I hated doing what I was doing. Now I can go over there and do something so much more impactful. So I think it's about like helping people learn, absorb, understand the power of this technology, but then find actual use cases that are high impact.
And now they're your evangelists going through the company talking about the impact that automation has brought to them.
Right, exactly. It's the ROI around automation isn't about the time saved, right? It's about the potential that you've unlocked.
Definitely. Yeah.
It's fascinating being a customer of Puro. When you look at Puro, you think, of course they're automated, they're a logistics company.
Yeah.
They're investing, but I'm sure a lot of the investment goes external to us as consumers
Right.
of your services versus how to actually internally run your business.
Right. And what I see is a lot of organizations, they pay so much attention to customers, and don't get me wrong, that's super important. But they forget about the people inside the organization that are also struggling, that are working day and night, doing these repetitive tasks. So it's about how you introduce these topics and how you articulate your story. Those compelling stories that we talked about in the first question, they're super powerful in how you sort of bridge technology with strategy.
And Sophia, you talked about how, you were looking at AI and tools that were not only saving time, but actually becoming a differentiator for your business. And I don't think that's how a lot of organizations look at AI. I think a lot of organizations are thinking, how do I, and oftentimes AI and transformation is tied to resource elimination, which I think is
Yeah.
garbage. I don't think that's a true
Yeah.
statement at all. But it's interesting that your team looks at it as, how do I bring AI in and leverage it as a differentiator for our business versus doing the internal development, building out technology. What are some, how did your team, and was this kind of from leadership down, or was this within your team that you said, okay, let's go?
I think that it was very spontaneous. I think that obviously, the natural reaction to AI, to your point, was how can we keep costs, under control and remove humans from mundane tasks. But for us, it was like, okay, that is great, it's going to save us some time, but at the same time, it's like, wait a moment, some customers were asking for things that we couldn't do or offer because they were too manual and it was going to be a pain in the butt for the team. But now it's like, what if we try to actually offer those and experiment with it? So I don't know so much as a differentiator, but definitely it has given us a competitive advantage within our customer base. Because now instead of having to go elsewhere to look for those services that we couldn't offer, now they know that we can offer it to them. And now the experience they have is, oh, okay, so the moment that you were able to do it, you actually did it. So whenever a new need comes to mind, I'm just going to be vocal and share it with you. So again, it has helped us strengthen the relationship with the customer. So it hasn't just been about being more efficient or faster internally and cutting resources. It has been about expanding what's possible for us.
I mean, from an executive perspective, that's exactly what you want from teams. You probably said, I'm going to use A, B, and C. But when you actually got into the technology, you added in 1, 2, and 3, and different outcome, a different opportunity, a different way to look at the business.
Yeah, it has also made us more scalable for sure, but it has raised the bar internally because now even there is a mind shift within our own team. Before it was like, okay, you share some feedback, we capture it, we'll share it with product, and then it has to go through this cycle that we all know about. Now the team receives some feedback and is like, is there any way we can do it?
Yeah.
So we are way more proactive, and I love that creativity from the team.
Well, you can be a lot more creative when you aren't spending 6 hours of your day doing manual tasks.
Exactly, very true.
You actually open up a different side
Very
of your
true.
brain.
Yeah.
I think we're actually getting into this next question where, can you talk about examples where AI shifted from being just true support, true, back-end support for your teams, but actually turning into a growth driver within organizations? And we can use all organizations. It doesn't have to be, Pure or GiftBit, but are there examples where you said, okay, we brought this in to help the teams, and now it's driving revenue, it's driving dollars.
Yeah, I have a great example. So when I was at Loblaw, and I stood up the innovation practice, one of the first POCs that we sort of tested out, AI POCs that we tested out, had to do with, when you go into the store and you see the digital price tag under the shelf or whatever you're trying to buy. So we decided to move forward with that. It's digital price tags, but there is a platform underneath, which is the pricing platform. So when we launched it, it was really to save times because, it's like the worst job. Like I always went down to the stores and I talked to the colleagues. I was one of those execs that didn't just stay at head office. It was important for me to help them understand, get them not scared of technology, hear what are their pain points, and cutting those price tags, putting it in. Imagine that. Imagine doing that every day, the amount of paper cuts you get, and then if you put it in the wrong place, in the wrong, there's a policy we have which I shouldn't tell you, but if you ever get a wrong price on a certain product and it's under, I think it's $10, get it for free. You didn't hear that from me. And by the way, with these digital price tags, it probably won't even happen, right? But anyway, so when we did that, it enabled that. We turned on other capabilities, and it allowed for people in the back office, like the store operations as well as supply chain, understand inventory, because now it's seeing the inventory on each shelf. Also, we had personal shoppers, Uber drivers that come and do your shopping. They know where the products are because we light them up for them. So we have all this technology incorporated. Where it started to sort of flip the switch is, I built a roadmap around this capability, and we talked about dynamic pricing. So now, in real time, we can roll back the prices when we're trying to compete with our competitors. Or if we have overstock in some store, we're able to sort of, implement price changes and push personalization through the app, which then generated revenue because more customers are going into stores when they didn't need it to because there's an overload of Pampers over in Scarborough in the no-frills and everybody's heading over there. Maybe I was one of them too at some point. But that's kind of how we flipped something that was initially for support, for productivity and efficiency, into growth.
Great answer, love that. For us, it started to become a growth driver. The moment that I mentioned before, it started expanding possibilities, but there's also something else I'd like to talk about. So again, one of the services that we were now able to start offering because of AI automation, it has helped us to drive more revenue directly from those customers because now they can do things that they couldn't do before, but it has also helped us retain some customers that were starting to shop around because of those services gaps. So direct impact to dollar and revenue. And another big shift, and potentially even more transformative, was when AI started enriching our customer intelligence. So instead of just relying on retrospective metrics or dashboards, now AI is able to predict behavioral patterns, engagement clues, communication sentiments, much better than we could on a one-on-one basis or when looking at reports. So AI has allowed us to have a more complete and colorful customer picture when it comes to their customer health. So that obviously has had an impact in how we make decisions, because now we don't have to wait until revenue dips. We can actually predict some patterns before it actually hurts us. And as I mentioned before, it has a direct impact on retention strategies as well. So, yeah.
Yeah, I think that, AI starts becoming a growth lever when it stops reporting into the business and instead it starts shaping the business.
Yeah, for us, what is this enriched customer intelligence has also helped us predict our next move, as opposed that helping us just execute the last one.
Right.
So it's like, what do we have to do next? It's not just about being faster, it's about focusing smarter.
Correct.
And that's what AI really can help everybody out in this room here.
And then we're talking about all the fabulous and positive things of AI and how it's helped transform businesses. And I think there's always a flip side with any technology that you implement. Have you seen moments where your automation that you have put into your business has actually unintentionally caused friction with customers?
Yes, I can take on that one. So yes, unfortunately, yes. So the clear classbook example, we've seen it in support with our AI bot hallucinating and providing inaccurate answers, but we have guardrails in place to catch those early and intervene before the customer leaves the conversation hugely misled. But even in those situations where the AI bot has made mistakes, it has had an amazing byproduct for us. It has really forced us and our help center content managers to be on top of their game. Because now we have to update all of the resources that the AI bot draws on, super accurate. So the moment that there is a minimal change in our policies, in our pricing, in our whatever it is, we have to make sure that everything gets updated, also internal resources. So yes, there has been hiccups, but it has some positives as well, because now we're doing content management way more better than we were doing before. But it also, we have another automation that basically flags some orders that might seem, we have basically like a model that detects what an order could be fraudulent, right? So, and the intention to have that automation is to prevent, to protect the customer and to protect the recipient. And what we've doing right now is improving the model so that those frauds that don't happen or don't interrupt legitimate orders of our customer. Because what a legitimate customer might encounter is like, okay, my order is trapped. Why is it trapped? I don't even know why. We're not doing a good job at telling them why. They only see interruption and frustration. So to improve it, what we're doing is making the models smarter. We're also working on the messaging so that they know what is happening and why. We're also working on customer education so that they know that this can happen before they place like a massive order that seems out of the ordinary. And yeah, but even in these cases, when you create automation, you were talking earlier about, you know, having automation and trying to protect projects from pitfalls and whatnot, but I think it's unavoidable. And I think that one of the things is when your automations bumps up against real life complexity, and that's when you actually learn, you can tweak it and make it better.
Right. Yeah, always learn and progress.
Yes.
And never just let it go. Let it go.
Exactly.
I implemented...
Or remove it entirely. It's like, oh, we made a mistake, the customer is
Yeah.
confused and angry. No, why is confused and angry where we can improve it? And in our case was messaging, education. Let's try to make the model smarter. Let's try to fast track those legitimate orders that shouldn't have gotten in the way, but we do it again to protect the customers.
So, I mean, for me, I'm going to stick to the same theme. I talked about the price tags, right, that I implemented at Loblaw. So I'm going to use that same example because, funny enough, with a client that I have, like, not so long ago, just a few months ago, they brought me in. It's a competitor to Loblaw, can't name any names. They implemented the same platform, but they saw a decline in, like, sales. And customers were, you know, not buying as much, and they're like, what did you do there that you were so successful? And it was the same goddamn platform. So I went in there to do a bit of a current state, and what I discovered was it's all about what you're trying to achieve. You got to look at the end goal. What's the impact, and work backwards and look at the different scenarios. They didn't plan it out. They kind of just looked at it and said, oh my God, convenience. It's all about the customer. Let's, you know, turn these things on and let the customer know which aisle to go in. What ended up happening is customers would go, yeah, it was convenient. You'd go in and you'd grab your item. You know exactly which like aisle it's in without talking to anyone, and then you're out. But now you're losing that customer dwell time. You know, those shoppers that grab a bunch of things and they're going through the aisles because it's, you know, their way of escaping from kids or husbands, or at least for me, don't tell my husband. But, you know, that's the exciting part of it. And now you've kind of lost that. So what I want to say is that, you know, just because technology can, doesn't mean that you should.
I totally agree.
Love that.
I totally agree. And the next question I'm going to ask, and you know, this might be our wrap up, and then we'll open it up to the audience, is, you know, if you could talk to every leader in this room, what is the one AI trap that they're likely to fall into in the next year? What is it going to be? And my goodness, how can they avoid it? If they can walk away with one tip from our 30 minutes together, what is that AI trap that's going to grab them?
I got it for you. It's confusing activity with progress. I'm seeing that.
Oh.
Every executive that I'm talking to, industry to industry, it doesn't matter. They look at, oh, I'm doing a bunch of AI POCs all over the place. So I'm like AI forward. I'm in it. I'm doing it. But it's not about, you know, the amount. It's about the quality, right? It's about picking those that are high impact, that are scalable. That's kind of been the theme of what I've been saying over and over again. And I think that that's the trap that you don't want to fall into. Don't just do it for the sake of doing it, doing technology for the sake of doing technology. Remember that AI isn't a race about who experiments the fastest. It's about who learns the fastest. That's what we need to accomplish.
I love that. My answer is in a very similar theme. I think that one of the AI traps that I might be guilty of falling into is noise. There is a new AI tool coming out every day, and especially on LinkedIn, you see every leader talking about, I use this and it's great, I use that and it's great, and you don't even know what to go for. And I think that that noise can lead to two reactions, either overwhelmed and wanting to check out, don't do that, or frenzy, and it's like, oh, I want to implement that, I want to implement that, I want to implement that. I think that we all need to stay grounded, and the advice from me is don't start with the technology, start with your team's work. Look at what your team is doing and try to see what you can find more efficient workflows, to your point, like, what outcome do you want to achieve here? And then feed the technology into your work team, not the other way around.
Yeah.
I love that. Start with people, start with problem,
Yeah.
and then see where technology can fit in.
Yeah.
And I mean, AI, it's moving faster than any technology that has come out in the last probably 50 years. But the behaviors are no different than when mobile technology came out or e-commerce came out.
It's just another
It
tech.
really is. So, I mean, the fundamentals of how you assess technology don't change.
No.
Yeah.
Although this technology is very appealing and there's so many buzzwords about it, but there's also a lot of uncertainties.
Right.
And jumping into it too quickly, to your point, let's just go peanut butter across our organization and everybody should be doing an AI POC.
Right.
Something will fail.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's just too many distractions. What I will leave you with, another tidbit is, I used to celebrate failures. Failures for me are a way of learning. I had a big board that said, our failures, and I'd get up and talk about all the failures. And it's a word that when we were younger, what did our parents say? Hey, you failed, that's okay, you tried. Get up and do something else. And that's what I'll leave you with, is just keep trying and make sure that you are looking at things that are super impactful and they're solving a problem.
I love that. But teams have to stay very open throughout that process, and being humble is like, okay, we tried that out, didn't work, all right, let's move on to the what is next.
Move on quickly before anybody sees it.
And don't get too stuck with something just because it worked for another team. A technology that you might see that works for someone might not work with your company, your organization, your customer base. So stay humble, stay open, and keep experimenting, to your point.
Okay, we have just over 2 minutes. Are there any questions in the audience? We have one right up here. He's bringing you a.
Thank you. Thank you to our panelists. You guys had very invaluable insights and ideas and stories, and I love hearing them. The one thing that I keep coming back to in my mind, when you guys talk about implementing AI tools and technologies in your respective businesses, one, was that something that you went externally to purchase, or was that a function that you built internally? And then two, because I know you'd mentioned, sorry, I don't remember either of your names, but Brown
Sarah.
Jacket, yes. You'd mentioned working for Metrolinx, which is technically a Crown Corp, I think.
It's a quasi-agency, yeah.
So I work for CMHC, so that's one of those things where tech and budget and privacy, it's such a thick added layer of complication when it comes to things like that. So how did you manage to work around those, or get buy-in, or shape something that fit into the mold that was something like Metrolinx?
Yeah, I mean, it was much more tougher, I won't lie. Public sector, there's a lot of tape. Fortunately for me, when I worked there, I reported into this awesome dude, the CIO, who came from private sector, so we were sort of cut from the same cloth. And I got the ability to stand up information management, which is data analytics in most organizations. And I also got to do a little bit of innovation. So for me, it was I had to go to the table and talk to C-suite, including the prior CEO of Metrolinx, and sort of convince them why we need to do what we're doing, right? I think it's about storytelling at the end of the day and making it compelling, as we talked about, which is a theme, talking about why it matters and what are you gonna get out of it. Remember what I told you earlier, initially I said, what's in it for them? If you can tell the stakeholders, the executive team, the people on the business, hey, this is why you should do what you're going to do because it's going to help you here, you know, you're going to see a lot of nods around the table. Now, to quickly answer your last question, build, buy, or rent, that's a constant thing I evaluate. What I will say is that examine the maturity of your organization. If you're testing something out like robots or whatever it is, and it's a one-off for your distribution center or whatever it is, maybe you should look at the maturity of where you are in the landscape of that tech. I always kind of opt for renting, trialing, because I normally don't have all the expertise on my team. So I bring them in. If it's something that works and you see potential, I use my team to shadow that, you know, startup, scale up, whoever it is that's coming in, so they can learn that and they can easily transition over. Or if I need to, it gives me time to hire somebody to take over that piece. So I would say, like, look at your, you know, feasibility, viability type of, you know, whatever matrix you have, and examine all of those options.
Ladies, thank you.
We're up.
Hopefully you've answered some questions or piqued more questions, and they can come and see you during our breaks.
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
Thank
Come
you
and
so
see
much.
us, and thank
right.
you so much.
Thanks.
All right, I'm going to go over to my next job over here. Stay on stage.